You ever one of those bears?
No.
Okay.
Let's put a red ribbon around it. I have red ribbon and stuff here. Yeah.
All right, I'm heading out.
Okay, love you.
Love you. That. Okay, thank you. I. I'll catch up with you today. I did, but then right, I'm not on. You can go to the. Go to a different room. Yeah. I graduated. Online, can you hear me? What's that? Read something. Can anybody online let me know if you can hear me?
I can hear you.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Right. Oh, look, what she's got here, like super organized. Everything's been in trouble. Doesn't take two. That's the word. Right, you go. Right.
Here, I did put the.
Yeah. Yeah. He's very scary. Yeah. Okay.
Tell everybody that's one that lets they can hear me, but I'll send it.
Double page. You like this bar? You want? Swing. Yeah, yeah. Swing. Yeah. Also, within. Thank you. Oh, that's great. Yeah. You just wanted that. You got, oh yeah, it's like you do have the release. So if you wanna. Oh, we go the wrong way. No. It's on this group and they're getting into some tasks. This here a lot. Is that possible that you can migrate everybody? Thank you.
Should go on the front.
Yeah, right on over.
Ready here. We're committing.
Do we have enough worksheets? Anybody not have one?
I don't.
I think so. The Adrian Young team is just rowdy over there. All right, we're getting it together. I hear it. I hear it. All right. Thank you. All right. Look at this little gang we got here. Okay, you guys are guinea pigs. Thank you. You don't see me as often around these walls, although I can literally walk here. So my name is Joe, for anybody that doesn't know me, Joe Cipollini. I'm a retired real estate agent, sort of. I worked with Ryan and I were partners, and Kate was from that era as well. And so done the retail game for a long time. 20 years, dude. He sent a picture. We were super skinny, had great hair. It was like a different time. And anyway, been in the game for a while. And the story is this: like 20 years ago, Ryan was driving a Taurus station wagon, I think.
It was $400 car. You got me where I needed to get.
And so we actually both started in real estate, but not in real estate. So he was like a paper pusher in the basement working with his uncle. And I was getting Eric Brewer coffee and putting bandit signs on telephone poles illegally. And so that's how we started in the industry. And then eventually, and when I say eventually, I mean like literally 30 days later when everybody else quit, we were both thrust into sales roles. And so we started in the investment game without having licenses, working with that company over at what is now Integrity. And we've taken different paths. We worked with a retail team. That's where Kate came along, and we were doing 100 some odd deals in the retail industry. Then we've come kind of back full circle, and we both work now in both investing and and retail. And I say all of that because where have I gone is I've actually gone sort of off the reservation into education. So I travel the country now working with investment companies of all sizes, but typically somewhere in like the $3 to $10 million range, which means that they're doing somewhere between 50, and the largest team I went to this year was previously the #1 agent at Keller Williams, and they did about 2,000 units. They're in the upper Midwest, and they're no longer KW, but over 2,000 units, and about 500 of those were investment deals. So now I get to see things from the different lens, which is kind of cool. And I was a MAPS coach in the interim, and so I understand it from the retail and from the investing side. The reason you guys are guinea pigs is because we wrote some new curriculum over the last 2 to 3 months, and what I just wrote apart. So we wrote some new curriculum, and one of the most important things for me is that when I write new stuff, I want it to be authentically me. And it's really hard to write in my house without having spoken it out loud. So I'm actually bringing this newly written content about we call it the essentials of investing, and I'm bringing that to you guys. So you're technically the second round of guinea pigs. I tried it in Pittsburgh, learned from there, and you guys are going to be number 2. And what this is looking to do is to kind of close the gaps between retail real estate agents, so you guys have some foundational knowledge of the real estate game, and investing. And I would say that the content that I'm going to describe today will help you in your conversations if your clients are investors or if you are thinking of investing. And either way, the rules of the game are going to be the same. Is that cool? You guys on board for that? All right. So I break it down into 3 things. And fundamentally, I would actually say that this is going to parallel the way that you need to think about your retail real estate business as well. If you do not find opportunities, you will be broke. Okay? And when I say that, I mean in the retail space, you need to find leads, you need to find buyers, you need to find sellers, and you need to be able to serve them. You can go to every real estate class that is offered, and if you do not have any clients, you will not have any money, okay? So we start with the foundational rule that we need to be in the business of finding things, finding deals. And so I broke this into 3 parts: find deals, make deals, and close deals. And to be honest with you, this is a probably multi-hour amount of curriculum. And I'm going to really focus on finding deals and making deals. And you guys, actually, of any audience, will be the best at closing deals because you understand what it takes to get deals closed. That's what real estate agents are the best at, okay? So we're going to start with find deals and move on from there. The first thing you need to do is you need to define a deal. And so, again, we're using the lens of real estate investing and real estate investment. Fundamentally, real estate investing is like any other type of investing. If you wanted to buy and sell corn, which is a commodity, and you could do that if you chose, you would need to buy low and sell high, right? Yeah. Okay, so investing fundamentally is a game of margins. So investing equals margins. Ryan.
You need somebody to write? Holy crap.
It's like the board is trying to run away from me every time. Investing equals margins. And you need to think, where is your margin going to be created? So I think that the allure of real estate investing is often sexier than the actual practice. You just need to be able to find a place where there is some level of equity that can be captured. And when that equity is captured, it can either be held for later or spent now. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay, so when you hold it for later, what's that called? A buy and hold. It's a rental, okay? If you spend it now, meaning you find the margin and you cash in on that margin right now, there's 2 ways that you're gonna do that. Number 1 is you're actually gonna liquidate the property, okay? Which would mean that you're flipping or wholesaling, okay? And option number 2 is you're going to burr it, which means you still hold it, but you pull the equity out. So that's basically taking the margin, but removing it while leaving the asset in place. We follow that? Cool. Now, if you want to go hunting for deals, you need to know what a deal looks like. So we're going to spend some time on what I think is one of the things that is going to be one of the most helpful tools for you, whether you're treating this from the perspective of the agent game or the real estate investing game. So here's the thing. To go find a deal, which is what we're going to talk about in section 1, finding deals. To go find a deal, your deal is made up of two things. There is the human part of the deal, and there is the property part of the deal. Okay? So let's think about that. There's the human part of the deal, and there's the property part of the deal. What I would encourage you to think about, and this is going to change the way you look at your listing appointments and your buyer appointments probably forever, is that you need to earn the right to do the business with the human before the property matters at all. Okay? So he and I used to joke about this. We didn't realize that we were like building the foundation of what would eventually become what I teach now, which is we would go to a listing appointment and take zero paperwork in there. Comps didn't matter if you didn't have a relationship. And so,
Not recommended.
yeah, it's like not, we did have like a 98% close rate, but not best practice. But what we were focused on there was like developing the relationship first. And then we'd go out and like scramble with our paperwork and all that other stuff. We actually ended up doing almost like a 2-step close, which turns out that's exactly the play that we use for everything. We do a pattern interrupt in the middle of our appointment, then we go back out, we come back in and talk about the real estate. And so thinking about this from the human perspective, because if you're going to invest in real estate, you're actually finding humans who own the real estate that you want to do the business with. Follow that? So who owns properties with margins? That's the question you need to answer. And you need to find those people and get into a relationship with those people. And once you get into a relationship with those people, that is when you earn the opportunity to capture the margin. It's not a math game. It's not a property game. It's a human game. And the collateral that those humans happen to own is real estate with margins. Does that change your perspective a little bit? And this matters a lot because if we're going to target them, and this is the same thing that we do in retail real estate, we need to have a target audience.
Yes.
We need to have a target audience.
The blood pressure medicine.
So let's think about what that means.
Dr. McCart said that you're going to put it in 2 weeks.
On the speaker, I think.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or we can wait to discuss it at your.
That's what you doing now. I was gonna text her. I think it's
Guess I'll just wait because I wanted to kind of talk to her to hear what she was saying because I don't want to just change to be changing. I want.
It's like a whole journey to get there. Okay. So we need to think about our target audience. And what I'm talking about with our target audience is what does the human have in common? Have anybody ever heard of the term buy box? Mm-hmm. Yeah. What is a buy box?
A specific criteria that you're looking for in a property that you want to buy.
Perfect. So that's a property buy box. And what I'm going to encourage is that we need a property buy box and we need a human buy box. I'm going to give you some perspectives on what you want to write down for your human buy box. And then we're going to look at page 1 there, which is about the human, the property buy box is going to be section number 1, and the human buy box is going to be section number 2. So the property buy box is this. Literally, like, where are you looking to invest? Anybody want to invest in Detroit? So I just got off of a call with a real estate company that invests in, of all places, Detroit. And guess what they're having problems with? It's freaking Detroit. They're like, yeah, the properties are worth $17,000. And I was like, well, yesterday I was coaching a team in Clarksville, Tennessee, and they had $120,000 profit on one of their deals in January. You'll never have $120,000 profit on a house that's worth $17,000. It's mathematically impossible, right? And so, like, that company is running into the problem that they picked a really crappy geography, right? So think about that. Invest in places geographically that you're interested in. And part of the content that I pulled from for today is from the book, The Millionaire Real Estate Investment book, Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And one of the things that Gary says in that book is like, there is no reason to make a bad deal in a bad location. Better to wait and make no deal than to make a bad deal in a bad location just for the sake of making a deal. You can't undo a bad deal. You can, but it's typically expensive. And like, that's the stuff that sinks people, right? If you look at people who file bankruptcies, I'm not judging any of this because it's like you're like one decision away from those types of things. But if you look at somebody who, a very sad story, a guy that I met at the real estate mastermind that I'm an educator for. And like, I really like this guy, and he was like buying properties in Pittsburgh of all places. I was like, oh dude, like I work in Pittsburgh sometimes. And so he was doing deals in a really risky, dangerous way. He was buying in a good location. Pittsburgh's a top market right now. So he's in a good location. He was working with properties though that didn't have enough margin, and then he was hoping to over improve those. He ended up doing that 10 times at once. Had $1.5 million in investment deals with not enough margin, because remember, investing equals margins, and couldn't sell them fast enough, ran out of cash. You know what happens when you run out of cash? You file bankruptcy. That's what happened to him. So we need to think geographically, where do we want to be? Physical, again, we're talking about the property buy box. Physically, we want to think, what type of property would you be interested in doing? Would anybody love to buy a 25-unit apartment building? Cool. I would as well, but it's not on my buy box right now, right? Because if you think about that from a physical perspective of like, what does that actually do to you to have 25 units with turnover, to need the capital to have that vacancy rate, like, right? So like, understanding that what you're looking to do from an investing strategy perspective should dictate the type of properties. If you're looking for your first deal and you think that your first deal is going to be a 25-unit apartment building, that like the lift on that and the risk associated with that is exponential. Okay, so thinking of that from a physical perspective. By the way, if you don't want to do multifamilies, or you don't want to do mobile homes built before 1960, right? If you don't want to do those things, then what will happen is you will not market to those. And that seems so obvious, except that I have peeled back the layers on marketing for real estate companies. Time and time again, they're spending money to market to properties they would never want to buy, and they're lighting that money on fire. And if that's happening at a big scale, it also can happen at a small scale. So I want to encourage you to think, what type of property do you have an actual interest in? Do you want to add value or not? Is anybody a really good handy person? Cool. Would you rather be a handy person or a realtor?
Realtor.
Okay. So then don't buy property that's going to require you to be the handy person.
Why?
Good.
Because,
I know the answer, but it's just.
well, two reasons typically. Number one is money. But number two is it's going to take your attention and it's going to dilute it to the area that's actually the lower value.
I can just do it.
I can just do it. We see it all the time, right? You ever get those people as your clients? And they're like, I'm going to start real estate investing. They do one deal, they get sucked into the work, and you don't see them for maybe a year. Anybody? Right? So having a really honest conversation, both internally and also with your clients, about what is going to create the value. Because remember, margins. So 2 ways that you can create margins. Number one, you can buy the margin. Number 2 is you can create it. And when you create it, you're going to do one of a couple things. You're going to change the property physically. 2 is you're going to change it like logistically. What do I mean by that? You buy a lot. Anybody ever heard of the term entitlement? Yeah, Kate's nodding. Anybody else? So let me teach you the word entitlement. Entitlement on land means that you take an unimproved piece of property and you get it to be developable. So if you ever see like raw land, those people typically are going out, they're getting it surveyed, they're getting it approved, they're getting it like perk and probe or prepped for utility turn-ons. And so they're maybe not putting a lot of physical work. They're not flipping it, right? They're not doing a renovation, not putting a kitchen in it, but they're changing it logistically, which then changes the margin because an unimproved piece of land has a different value than an entitled piece of land. Okay? So again, when we're thinking of the margin. Now let's talk about the buy side. The reality is, anybody ever hear the cliche term that money's always made on the buy? Well, it's true.
Make your money when you buy.
You make your money when you buy, right? Because either way, whether you're going to create the equity or you're going to buy the equity, meaning this just means you bought it at a deep enough price. You acquired it at a price that allows you to have a margin. This just said that you did the math on whatever upside you were going to create and you bought it according to that. Either way, the money's made on the buy. That's true. Okay? So if we think about the physical buy box of the property, right? That property buy box, which is that section number 1, and I'm going to move into section number 2, and then we're going to go back and we're going to fill in those blanks. So the property buy box tells you geographically where is it, physically what type of property is it, what are the characteristics? Do you want row homes in the city? Do you want mobile homes in leased land? Do you want 25 unit apartment buildings? Be clear about that. You're only going to get what you're clear about. Okay. So if you don't think intentionally about what kind of properties you want, and then you go and you start to make a plan of how you're going to invest in real estate or how you're going to advise a client, if they're just like, if everything's an option, then they're way too scattered. Okay. But then you think the second question is, well, who owns that? And remember, I said we need to be in relationship with the people who own the assets with margins. The more clear we are on the avatar, the more clear we can be about what we say to them. Because we're going to talk about the situations. Remember, this section is about finding deals. We're going to talk about what we can say to somebody that gets them to raise their hand and talk to us. Because we need that, right? Yeah? So who owns the property? And who would acquire it from you? So the front end buy box and the back end buy box. The front end buy box is who owns the property now. The back end buy box is who would like to own it. Okay? We need to speak to both. So let's talk about a couple of factors there. Sorry, I'm switching between things. I'm going to give you a couple of pressure points on sellers. Okay, so every investment deal where someone's willing to walk away from equity and transfer that equity to you or your client, there's some type of pressure that's being applied that's making that a reality. I'm going to give you 5 examples of pressure that causes equity to move hands. Number 1 is financial. Number 1 is financial pressure. So how does that show up? It shows up in debt, taxes, cash flow constraints, or repairs that they can't afford. Number 2 is time-based pressure.
Peach, you're going too fast.
Sorry. So I'm literally, by the way, if you're not writing these 5 down, then you cannot lead generate for these. Like, I'm telling you, there are, inside of Keller Williams Keystone, there's $250,000 in marketing money in the companies that work in real estate investing that's going out specifically targeting these things, and I'm handing it to you. And you guys are smaller, so it's like David and Goliath. I'm just telling you right now, you as a small operator have a better opportunity to go directly to the single human beings that the big companies are not doing. So like this room, if I give you these 5 things and tell you to go get these people, you actually can get there faster than the big companies who are spending $250,000. So write these down. All right, financial, debt, taxes, unaffordable repairs, and cash flow constraints. So when you're speaking to somebody, here's a great example. The language you're going to use when you're sending something to like somebody who owns a 3 or 4 unit is different than the language of somebody who is behind on their real estate taxes, but that's both a financial indicator. Somebody who owns a 3 or 5 unit, the financial indicator for them, if it's financial, could be, hey, have your interest rates adjusted over the last 3 years? Anybody know that interest rates have gone up? So people who bought multifamilies 4 years ago, holding on to hope that their interest rate was going to be stable and their cash flow and their rental was going to be good, have been very disappointed by that. So cash flow constraints so just again, it's like, how do you talk to these people? What are you going to say that's attractive other than, hey, you want to sell? Which is not a very attractive conversation. People make decisions on pressure. I'm telling you what the pressure points are. When you identify pressure with the customer, you can then offer them a solution, which is really what sales is all about. Number 2 is time-based. So time comes from pressure on relocation, which is forced movement, foreclosure timelines, which again is forced movement dictated by the bank. And the last one, and this is super interesting, anybody know the rules on probate in Pennsylvania? It's really important to know this. So when somebody dies, the estate owes the estate taxes at what date? 6 months. So if they don't have the cash from the estate to pay the estate taxes, if the estate has assets but doesn't have cash, let me repeat that. If the estate has assets but doesn't have taxes, meaning they own real estate but don't have a lot of cash, that clock is ticking hard on the estate executors or administrators.
So taxes are due within, you guys.
That's a 6-month mark. The estate tax.
What happens if they're not paid?
Massive penalty, and I believe that like there's potential like loss of the assets eventually.
That's what I was going to ask. Like, at what point do they just take the asset?
I think it can. I don't know what the specific timeline of punishment is, but I know that the penalties go like extremely high fast. And remember, like, think about that. These are people who like accidentally own a house. Like somebody who inherited a property didn't like it wasn't on purpose. Somebody died, and the property comes to them. Well, an interesting thing, like this again, this is like I'm giving you a little bit of a glimpse behind the lens. I work with a client who's in Florida. He works specifically with probate properties that are in pre-foreclosure. So think about that. Properties that are in probate and pre-foreclosure, meaning somebody inherited it, but there was a mortgage attached to it that's now going behind. 82% likelihood that it will sell to a cash buyer. Would anybody else like an 82% likelihood of success in their business? So all he has to do is talk to the person who has control over the property, and he's 82% likely to get the deal. Okay. Number 3 pressure point is physical. This is property condition and deferred maintenance. It's crazy to say this because I love all the nerdy technical ways to generate leads, but one of the best ways to generate leads is to drive for dollars. And the reason is because indications of physical distress are right in front of your face. Tall grass, unshoveled driveways, and a property with the gutters falling off is just a problem. Number 4, emotional pressure. Liz, you talk to a lot of homeowners. Do you ever hear the word stress? Overwhelm? Yeah, right? Like when people feel stressed and overwhelmed, they feel that pressure. So the difference between pressure and stress is just the amount of pain associated with it. Like pressure can be good up until a point when it's no longer good. So like I don't mind. I actually work really well under pressure. I don't love stress though. So think about that from an emotional perspective. When someone is, we see this sometimes with like grief. We see this sometimes with like just overwhelmed within problems. You see family dynamics would be another form of emotional pressure, right? And number 5 is going to be situational. And this is really good because situational pressure can be identified and replicated. So let me give you some ideas for that. Divorce is a situational pressure. Inheritance is a situational pressure. And landlord fatigue would be a situational pressure. Okay, so think about that. I've given you the beginning part of this conversation is what's the physical buy box, right? What's the physical buy box? The second one is what is the human buy box? And now I've given you 5 pressure points to look at that tell you what could be lurking under the surface of somebody who owns a piece of real estate that physically matches what you want. And this gives you the window of opportunity on how to talk to them. Remember, we need to find deals before we can make deals. What I want you guys to do, I want you to take 2 minutes. I want you to fill in sections 1 and 2 as if you are going out to buy an investment property before the end of Q1. So where would you want to do it, and who would own it, and what would they want? What would be important to them? Do you need one?
Yes, please. Okay.
No, you're good. I get one. Yeah, absolutely.
Just to support some of the it's nice to learn, you know.
You too?
Thank you.
I gave her mine, Joe, just to make it easier for her, but yeah.
Okay. Keep going. Okay. Yeah. He's like a piercing. I'm going to give you some clarity on like conditions. So like, if you're looking at under section 1, condition, lien, and exit strategy. So we're going to talk a little, exit strategy is a little bit too technical. We're not going to get into that today necessarily. But condition lien would be, so wholesale would be, you could take that property to the market right now. It would be competitive on the open market the way it is. Means, so wholesale is a combination of 2 words, wholesale on the front end, retail on the back end, meaning that the front end buy was wholesale pricing, but the back end sell is retail pricing without any condition changes. So in that situation, all of the margin that's created there is in the buy on wholesale. So if you are not handy, don't want to spend money on a renovation, and don't have a lot of capital, wholesale is a great way to do it. Wholesale is also like that. The next one would be light rehab, which is literally, light rehab would just be a scaled down amount of physical renovation. I bought a rental in the fall. Renovation came in at like $18,000 to get it rent ready. Like I would call that a light rehab. It's like Dora the Explorer. The third condition is heavy. What? Like to get it rent ready. Yeah. It's gonna be a great burr with that. Anyway, the third one is heavy rehab. So, like, Ryan and I bought a 1900 Queen Anne Victorian on the main street of Shrewsbury? Stewartstown.
It was so cool.
Such a cool rehab. $110,000 later, it was a great rehab. Yeah. But it was huge rehab, right? We bought it, it was a shell. So, we were both a combination of reckless and brave enough to do it, and we'd been in the industry just long enough that we felt we could tackle it, so that was a heavy rehab we could do. And then the fourth one there is land. So there are literally companies that only flip land, which is really unsexy, but it's viable. We're in an area here in York where, like, think about us geographically, like we have land available. There are some parts of the country that don't. Like they're the only land that's available is something called an infill lot, which means it's like an otherwise developed area, and then there's a lot that's like inside of that. So, there are people in our area even, like, look at the lot across from us. That Christmas tree farm sat for however long and eventually was able to sell, and it's going to be developed, right? So like that's a great example of watching an asset go into development and have an exit strategy. Their exit strategy on that they're doing townhomes, right? So think about that think about that in relation to what we're talking about here. It was a raw piece of land, raw in terms of like that its current usage no longer served its best usage. And the best plan of attack on that was to demolish whatever was over there, redevelop it, get it approved for all the stuff, I'm sure they've got all their sewer, site prep, all the other things are all ready to go. And then they're gonna have a margin, and the margin's gonna be created in the per unit sale of townhomes. You guys follow the math? It's all the same. Doesn't matter whether you're doing a 1900s Victorian or whether you're doing a 20-acre new development. Okay. Any ahas or takeaways from doing section 1 and 2? Any takeaways on that?
I'm boring.
What's that?
I'm boring.
Good.
Yeah.
Boring is great.
Safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In terms of what? Just like what you would be interested in doing?
Yeah, like I don't think I'd want anything super risky. I think I would want to be maybe overly cautious, truthfully.
Yeah.
Just without stepping in and having 110K ratio.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And in some cases, that might keep you away from a lot of bad deals. It also, like, your caution could keep you away from good deals too.
Yeah, that's my fear.
Yeah, and that can happen. Anybody else like dip their toe into investing, but like you're too scared? So like having clarity on what your comfort zones are is really good. Then you just know that you have to be so safe on the buy that you have to be better at finding deals because you're not going to be creative or risky about making deals. Good to know. It's like, fine. You only need to find 3 to 4 opportunities over the course of a year or 2 years to be able to put yourself in front of some of those deals. So better to be specific about that and know what your limitations are than just be like, oh, I guess I'm going to have to keep searching on the MLS where everybody else is looking, because that's just not going to work if you're going to be conservative. You know what I mean? Okay. What was your takeaway?
That I'm very new to this, but it seems like I'm on the right track.
Good. That's good.
Seems like.
Seems like. Love some vague answers like that. Hard to know when you're winning if it seems like. Okay, so when we think about that, like now we've got our avatar. We understand geographically what we're looking at. I'm going to take you, I've taught this, I don't even know how many times within the walls of KW, but this is from the book Shift, also references to Millionaire Real Estate Agent book, but like there is, and you can write this down, there is nothing else to worry about in my business if I do not have more leads than I can work. There is nothing else to worry about in my business if I don't have more leads than I can work. Do you believe me?
I think that's the most important thing, is generating workable leads.
That's it.
That's it.
We get so distracted with the other shiny things, right? We get so distracted. There's all the other stuff.
Now, I mean, I will throw this out there. Like, I found an agent one time that told me they had a system that would generate 100,000 leads a year. And I thought, the number sounds great, but the logistics of managing 100,000 leads a year seemed overwhelming. Made me think, slightly tweaking it, just the leads had to be workable, viable leads, as opposed to just throwing out and capture as many BS leads as you possibly can. Clickbait, for instance, that kind of stuff. So,
yeah, the definition of lead is really important. A lead being a potential customer who has a problem you can solve, not somebody who clicked a Facebook ad and may or may not have a pulse, right? Okay, so just to kind of take you back to the fundamentals, because we're going to move through finding deals, because in order to find deals, now we need to lead generate. So we've identified geographically and physically what kind of property investment we want to do. We have an idea of what our avatar is. We need to then do this. It's the 3-part game. Capture, convert, and close. And I don't mean close like go to the closing table. I mean close the sale. We need an agreement of sale. And capture is lead generation. Conversion is sales skills. And closing is the final piece of the two of those combined. So capture is lead generation, convert is sales skills, and close is the combination of the two of those, right? And again, this is not close like closing table, real estate agent closing. This is close like sign on the line that is dotted. Anybody knows that, right? Okay, so let's talk about lead generation. If you are looking to expand into real estate investing, I would encourage you to think about the balance between outbound lead generation and inbound lead generation. So I've now given you those pressure points, which tells you what to talk about with the customers that you want to get a hold of. You need to now think, are you going to get those customers in front of you by way of money or sweat? Because those are your two choices. And when I say that, money means you buy leads. So when I talked about how there are people and multiple companies under the KW umbrella that are doing real estate investing and spending an absolute fortune every single month, they are buying a lot of opportunities. So anybody see all the Eric billboards, right? He's Cupid right now. Kind of on this theme. So he's on billboards, he's on TV, like that budget is enormous. So you can play in that game a little bit. So think about what are the ways that you could generate leads that would be money intensive but not sweat intensive.
Where to begin? And you could go the old school traditional route, like Zillow, Realtor, all that stuff. You could do social media ads. You could pay for postcards. You could do website clicks. You can.
Are you talking about for the investment side?
Yeah, for
Oh,
investment
okay.
side. I wouldn't do Zillow around the investment side.
No.
PPL?
Yeah.
When you say PPL, what's people? Oh,
Pay per
yeah.
lead.
Pay per lead. What do you mean by that?
A website that runs a marketing campaign for you and sells you the lead information.
Yeah. So let's talk real granular about that. I'm super excited that you mentioned it. There's a lot of this out there. So it's like, this isn't like proprietary. So PPL, write this down, guys. This is like, you run a sales business, whether you're good at it or not. So you might as well let's put this. The PPL is pay per lead. So in this situation, this is different than PPC. Anybody know what PPC means? Per click. So if I go on Google and I click on an ad, I have now cost somebody money. Right? PPC. Doesn't actually mean it's a lead quite yet, okay? But PPL is another company that comes and layers in between you and the consumers on Google, and they get those clicks, they get them to a form, and then they sell you that as a packaged up lead. So it's essentially jumping the line a little bit. You give away a little bit of quality control because you can't manage the campaigns. You have no idea what the advertisement said that is bringing the customer in, but you're getting leads without all the management of the PPC campaigns. So PPC means doing Google AdWords, just straight up. Google AdWords is a big deal right now and specifically tied to AI. We could go spend an hour and a half on AI by itself, but right now, if you're not getting a ton of individual testimonials from people that are local, that are in, have an IP address that is physically somewhat near where you serve, if you're not doing that, you are falling behind like by the second. So you need to be doing all of that if you want to be searchable in the future. PPC would be going and getting a Google AdWords person. It's a whole big lift, but it's possible. PPL would be easier. There are a variety of those. I don't know what companies. You don't have to even give them. I'll give a couple. There are companies like Property Leads, Motivated Leads. There's quite a number of others that are out there that are like that, but those are probably the two that would be a little bit better. But you'd have to sign up, you have to get an account, and it's going to cost you money. Other places you could go that would spend you money. Again, TV, that gets pretty pricey. You could start to build web SEO stuff, which again is all about capture. But let's talk about the middle ground between money and sweat, and that is direct mail. Pretty much every time I come here, I talk about direct mail. I think direct mail, when done right, so remember, you already have a database. Those people are like somewhere here. You've already captured your uncle. Like, he knows you exist, right? You don't need to capture him from scratch. So we're not talking about those. I'm talking about strangers that are out here that we're trying to, that does say strangers, that we're trying to capture. So strangers who physically live in properties like we just described that you want to invest in, who have the characteristics of the pressure points that we just described, those strangers we want to capture. If we can use data to tell us who those strangers might be, and we can send those people a message that might resonate with what's going on in their life, I want those leads so bad because I've never had that lead before. It's a new lead.
Can you share like a system that gives you that?
Yeah.
And then
For direct mail?
Well, one that highlights or finds those people, but then secondary automated system that sends a direct.
Yes. So, in terms of so Command can do some decent work for you for direct mail. There are some like big, more expensive programs out there. If you have any questions, by the way, you can write my email down, joe@ramprei.com. So if you have any questions off of this, again, I'm using like raw notes to teach you this. So if I skip anything or move too fast, you're welcome to shoot me an email. If you want specifically other mail companies, I can give you some at a variety of scales. But I'm going to tell you this to what Ryan's question is, like where to go to do that. If I'm you and I'm not sitting on an absolute huge pile of cash, I'm using a combination of sweat and money. And when I say sweat, the data is all available by way of sweat. So think back to the reason I had you write down the avatar was because that tells you where to go get the data. If you want to go get people who have financial pressure, think about where those people live. Let me ask you, does anybody know where to go get tax delinquent records?
Your county sheriff.
That's where you go. The courthouse,
Yeah.
The sheriff will tell you who's in foreclosure. The courthouse will tell you who's behind on their taxes. The courthouse will also tell you who has fines for unmowed grass. One of my rentals, stupid, Vanita got me in trouble. So one of my rentals had like ornamental grass that grew really tall and then leaned over the sidewalk. So they served me a notice of a fine for my unkept yard. And I was like, guys, like I pay the mower like every week. That's stupid. But it was this ornamental grass that laid out over the sidewalk. So I sent that to my property manager, who I already mentioned. So I sent that to my property manager and they were like, we've already mowed the grass. They didn't do anything. I got a fine. I got like sued by the municipality of Wrightsville.
Are you looking to sell?
I got a postcard. I got a postcard because I had an unkept lawn fine. So somebody, and it wasn't one of the big companies, so somebody was keeping an eye on that. And so it's like it kind of goes back to thinking into like you got to be. What's that?
Because you didn't keep your grass and now somebody sent you a postcard to sell you.
To come out. Because what are the pressure points? One of the pressure points is physical distress, right?
Think about when you're driving down the road and you see a yard that hasn't been mowed in a month. You're thinking, something happened.
So there's a great tool. You can look this up. Driving for Dollars. It is a really simple app, and you can specifically put it into your phone. It actually like will email. You drop the address in. It will send mail for you. It's a really great little tool if you're using it. If you don't use it, then nothing comes out of it. But like that would be a really great resource, right? So that's another physical distress. But thinking in terms of where you're going to go get this data. If I'm you, I'm thinking small. So I'm going to give you a couple of small companies. One of them is Batch Leads, which is fairly small, and another one is List Hub, not to be mixed up with the other hub. And so, I really liked it. So Batch Leads or List Hub, both of those will let you, or a List Source would be another company. So all of those will let you go in and find list building. But I'm again, that's the money. That's using money. I'm just telling you right now, if you think that you're gonna go and spend $250 on a little bit of a list, and you think that you're gonna be able to compete with somebody who's spending probably $10,000 to $15,000 a month on data to get scraped by data scientists, you're fighting a really uphill battle. So go small. It's the David and Goliath. Use your smallness. There is nothing stopping any one of you from going down to the courthouse when we finish here and pulling up the fine list of people who haven't shoveled. There's nothing stopping you from doing that type of work. And I promise you that doing the work that others are unwilling to do gives you a massive advantage. So if you want to get the data, I would do it small. So we talked about the money stuff. We talked about the mix, which is direct mail. Then there's the sweat stuff. Door knocking. Putting flyers out. We have an agent in the Pittsburgh office who he came to a class I did like 2 years ago. I don't think he's come to a class since then. And he's just been doing the one thing I said, which was dropping off solutions packages to properties that were the 10 nearest doors for every listing appointment he went on. That dude's doing like $20 million this year. And it's just scaled so fast, just dropping those things off. He also pulls, this is another thing that you can do manually, is pulling properties that match your criteria but have been off the market for a while. So anything that was pulled off the market 3 years ago, 4 years ago, again, this goes back to like that multifamily conversation, is like, what's changed in those lives of people who own multifamilies over the last 3 to 5 years? Their interest rates have almost certainly gone up. Owning properties is harder now than it was 5 years ago. It's more of a pain in the ass, I promise. So just thinking in terms of that. So anything related to the effort. So once you bring those leads in, and let's just talk about what criteria would meet a good lead. Number one is they own a property that matches the physical buy box. They own a property. Anybody been attempt to be scammed by a non-real homeowner? Yeah, a couple people. So number two for a qualified lead is that you're actually talking to the decision maker and they're really the homeowner. Don't sleep on that because you'll end up wasting a bunch of time on somebody who's a scam artist. Number three is that there's motivation. So motivation means a desire to change. So people exist out there who have these pressure points that I just described and are okay living in that. They're miserable and they're all right with that. Their gutters are falling off and they don't feel any need to change that. Okay? So if there is no motivation, then all the pressure in the world doesn't mean anything. So there has to be motivation. And number four is that the timing to and alignment are possible with your desired outcome. That's a great qualified lead. So let's say we've got the leads. If we've got the lead, it's time to make a deal. And now we're talking about moving down into converting it. So making a deal is all about the sales component. I'm going to probably run out of time and then we can decide if do you guys want to keep hearing more about this content as we take it through making deals and going on to closing deals?
Yeah.
Is this good? Maybe I can come back. What do you think?
Got a couple spots in March.
Okay, cool. I'm around in March. Okay, so actually then I won't move on to making deals. I'll finish what I was going to talk about with finding deals. I'm going to give you a couple of other relationship-based ways to capture leads. Finding people who already are talking to the people you want to talk to. Who talks to people that are going through divorce? Divorce attorneys, right? Who talks to people that are having code violations?
Code enforcement.
Yes. Anybody ever call a code enforcement officer? Call a code enforcement officer and ask them what their least favorite 5 properties are. Right?
What if you're on there?
Yeah. Yeah, that probably would burn out. So it's funny. I actually watched a presentation at Collective Genius. That's that math event. I watched a presentation there from a guy from Missouri, and he was in a town that was like 100,000 people. He became besties with the code enforcement person. He would get called, like the code enforcement guy would go out and be like, hey, here's a fine, but I really, I know that you're under a lot of pressure here. You should take this phone number as well. And the code enforcement officer was essentially like his lead generator. And that dude did like 150 deals, and like 40 or 50 of them came by way of the code officer. Because he was just on the streets, like talking to the homeowners, and he was talking to the exact homeowners that needed to be talking to the investor. And actually, he was an investor and an agent. So he was a you doing 150 deals, right? So talking to the people who are talking to those you want to do business with. So thinking about the professionals, the attorneys, all of that. Number 2, clean out and moving companies. Number 3, property management and any type of landlord networks. You guys, obviously, Maddie and Liz, Adrian's gang, like the people that work with Integrity, Integrity has their meetup. Their meetup has gotten really good. Rocky start, really good now. There were over 100 people at the last one. And when I was there, you had, I'll just give you a name, Ryan
From SPG.
from SPG was there. Like, anybody know SPG? You heard of SPG, right? You know how many units they have? How was it? 1,800. 1,800 units. They do private money lending now, by the way. So if you want to get a loan, I have a loan from them right now on my rental, and I'll cash out on that. It's like easy bridge loans. Like, I have commercial money too from local banks, but SPG, I closed in 2 days on a rental. 2 days. No, it was like the easiest thing ever ish. But going and meeting with people who are coming across this, and you know what Ryan said to me? I had a nice little call with him. He said, I learn about properties because they're coming to me from other investors, and also the investors that I work with, when they want to liquidate property, guess who the first person they tell is? Me. So I'm just saying, like, go and getting in the room with people who are touching the type of deals you want to touch. Another one is wealth planning, because wealth planners, like, if you have a financial advisor, have you ever told them to send you deals? And then long-term community. So that's going to be like estate planning, estate attorneys, elder care homes. Those are great options. Again, thinking about the avatar. People who are feeling overwhelmed, stressed, too many repairs, and need to downsize or move. Who's talking to those people? Elder care people, right? Accountants are another one. So those channels are less competitive. They're going to produce the highest quality leads. There is nothing I like better than a nice warm referral. Here you go. Like 100% close rate, right? And then those compound over time. So going back to the top of the funnel, because I'm not going to move into the sales stuff yet. I'll save that for March. At the top of the funnel of capture, thinking of it like, and one thing that we always talk about, Ben, my partner and I, we always talk about, we want to build a 3-legged stool of stability for lead generation. And as we've described some of the inbound and outbound lead generation strategies that you could be doing, you probably already have some version of that from your retail business. Whether you are doing it intentionally or you're doing it accidentally, that's up to you. But thinking on those and asking, is there anything that you need to scale up, change, or do differently from what you're doing for your retail business to be able to come across investment style deals? And the reality is, what you're going to find is that motivated sellers are motivated sellers. I want to talk to them regardless, because if I can serve them from an investment deal, great. But if I can't and they're still a motivated seller, what do I want to do with them next? Help them sell their house, right? So there's like never a bad time to talk to somebody who's a motivated seller. So thinking back on that 3-legged stool, my challenge to you is to like go back on I give you a laundry list of lead generation options, both money and sweat and then relationships, and thinking on those 3 and saying like, if I want to really take real estate investing seriously, what would I need to do to build a 3-legged stool for my investing business, regardless of what I've got for my retail business, and be really intentional about that. So I'll leave you guys with that. I'm happy to answer any questions now, and then I'll plan to come back in March. Now that I know how long some of this content takes, I'll actually I'm iterating as much as this as you guys are and taking notes. So happy to do that. So let's any questions that you guys have up at this point. Yeah.
I have a question. If I think the capture zone, I have a person who wants to buy a fourplex, but he has already an appraised value for 260. How can I negotiate that 260 to be under appraised a month ago?
What are you trying to do with it?
Buy and hold.
You want to buy and hold, or he wants to?
He wants to sell.
He wants to sell, and he's stuck on his appraised value.
Yes.
Did the appraiser show up with a check?
What check?
Yeah. Did the appraiser bring a check to buy the house, to buy the property? No. So then the appraiser's usage of value is different than your usage of value, right?
How you negotiate?
It's like, hey, like the appraised value is not a sale value. It's just not. Anybody disagree with that? Right? It's an independent idea of value, but it's not like what I would tell him is I am a willing buyer, and my pricing to make it an attractive price for a willing buyer is blank. And that's what I would do. So you got to separate that out. And at the end of the day, ask him, like, is not selling an option? Because if he doesn't want to sell, then he can continue to own it. That's an option too, right? Because he could own it and have an appraisal and have zero cash in his checking account.
I mean, I think it goes back to what you said earlier about it being a viable lead. Just because he wants to sell doesn't necessarily make it a viable lead.
Correct. That's correct. It comes back the motivation. I'll actually dig into this a little bit more on the next time, but like that's where like if there's a lack of motivation, then there's a lack of sort of that coming to the reality of what the value is and the desire to move. Yeah. Anybody else? Any other questions? Any takeaways? Give me one or two takeaways.
I think all of the like lead sources is very valuable to some people who might not have even thought about that, like going to like, places or the courthouse or whatever to pull those types of lists, and even like, even like calling the codes inspector. I think that's actually kind of like genius to just say like, what's your favorite or your least favorite properties? Like if somebody that will tell you, like, that's great, you know?
That
So
could be a
there's-
good value if you involve this class. Like have a printout of those things that you mentioned.
I can do that. We can take it to the next level. I did put a calculator there on page 1. So if anybody is like doing any investment deals or looking to just have like a simple little like way to do the math, that is that's a really, really easy little calculator. You're welcome to use that. So we trying to give you some tools, trying to bring that. And again, like I said, so again, if you go to ramprei.com, which is our education company's website, some of those contents actually starting to go live in there for free right now. We have a paid community that's like sales training focused, but for free, you can go in there and start to get some of this content. So if you're really serious about like leveling up and being, taking investing seriously, that would be something I would do. You have to put yourself in the path of what you want to learn and who you want to become. Okay.
So under,
Yeah.
convert, you had capture, convert, and close. What was that part under convert? I know under capture is lead generation and close is the combination.
Convert is sales skills.
It's-
Your ability to convert
Thank
leads
you.
is tied to your sales skills. Awesome. All right. Appreciate you letting me come hang out.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.